You're American hero. G.I. Joe is there.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. It's been a while, but we're back to ranking G.I. Joes year by year.
Last time it was 1998, so today we're ranking all 1999 G.I. Joe figures. Ta-da!
There, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, there was a gap between toy lines there, so we got no new toys in 99. We did get them in the year 2000 though, and that's what we're actually ranking today. This toy line was called the Special Collector's Edition, but wasn't a store exclusive, it saw a wide release. Like in 98 though, they avoided card art mistakes by simply not having any art. Even the file cards just used actual pictures of the toys.
Okay, they had one piece of art.
A helicopter that was on all the figures' packages. Now, this line did have a helicopter, but it wasn't that type. Unlike the previous 3 packs, the figures now came in packs of 2.
With all that said, let's get on with the ranking.
As always, we're going alphabetically, and since there's just 19 figures to get through, the Joes and Cobras will share the same list. First up is Big Ben, and they made him a proper Arctic figure this time, being mostly white. He looks good and has the same accessories as version 1. I'll put him in the good tier.
Now, since we've looked at the first toy, there's 2 things you need to know about every figure in this line.
1. You won't find a new sculpt anywhere. These are all repaints of previous molds.
Because Hasbro hates spending money.
And 2. They all have these paint wipes on them, to give the uniforms a more worn down, lived in look. This caused quite a stir back in the day, as there were plenty of collectors who hated that. Me, I don't mind, so it doesn't affect the ranking.
Moving on.
Next is Chameleon, who's the Baroness but isn't. Yeah, Hasbro temporarily lost a trademark or copyright or something to the Baroness name, so they went with this and invented the whole backstory about how she's a double agent and the Baroness's sister.
And I don't want to talk about it anymore.
But suffice to say, this puts her in the weird tier. Cobra Commander is next, and he's basically identical to the 1993 version, except he's very dark purple. So there's not much new to say, so just like his predecessor, he goes into the good tier. Dial Tone looks, he looks like he's defected and joined the October Guard. He looks more proper military, but that makes him kinda dull. Also, they didn't paint his mustache.
Which is just wrong.
He goes into the bland tier. Took is a really difficult one. The figure uses the 1992 mold, but much like Dial Tone, the olive drab makes him look bland. And he's got brown hair again for some reason. Quite a few figures use this color scheme. I think they wanted to mimic the look of the first Joes from 1982. Well, he goes into the bland tier regardless. Dusty uses the 1991 mold, which is a fine mold indeed, but dear lord, that is one bad color combination. I know I was complaining about the olive drab just a moment ago, but if this is the alternative, I'm beginning to see the benefits of going green. Yeah, Dusty goes into the ugly side of the bad or ugly tier. Firefly looks like he's been in a mud wrestling match to the point I'm not even sure if that's supposed to be camouflage or not. And the cobra symbol on his head just makes him look silly. Yeah, he's on the ugly side of the bad and ugly tier. General Trademark Lost, or Tomahawk as Hawk prefers to be called, also has this classic military look, but it works for him. I am, however, putting him in the bad tier for one reason. You see, this one uses the Talking Battle Commander mold, and they didn't bother remolding the back of the torso, so it's got this weird flat surface on it.
Damn, how cheap can you get?
Next is Lampreys, who looks the most like the original version, just a bit darker and grimier. Still, I've always liked this figure from the beginning, so much so that I bought several of the stupid subs he came with, so I'm putting him in the good tier for costing me all that damn money. Law is great. He's got a very nice new color scheme that is my favorite one out of all the Law figures, and let us all rejoice, Order is back with him. All that is good enough to put him in the best tier. Major Blood is certainly a choice Hasbro made. The version 2 mold. I assume they lost the first one when it was used for the Fun School version in India. And they tried to use the original color scheme, but it really doesn't work on this figure. Still, it's not that bad, so I'll allow it into the weird tier.
And now we come to a figure that gives Skid Mark a run for his money when it comes to code names.
Rip it! Yes, they decided to have a named his driver, make him an actual character, and then call him Farter. It's not a bad figure, but that one thing puts him in the weird tier.
And speaking of weird,
The Rock Viper. Though it's clearly a range viper, because that's the freaking mold they used. And that color scheme is pretty out there. I almost put this figure in the ugly tier, but I like it just enough to not do that. And because of the name snafu, he goes into the weird tier too. Sidetrack is just Ambush with an olive drab coat of paint. He is a new character, but they should have used a different head, because that magnificent moustache is just too recognizable. Having said all that, this guy still gets into the good tier, in part thanks to his nice accessory set that he inherited from Ambush. Next, Snake Eyes.
oh dear.
They used the 1989 mold, and I think they forgot to paint some stuff, because those knives on his chest should have had some color on them. Now the figure just looks unfinished.
Oh, and pro tip,
If you are a ninja that uses stealth and darkness as tools, maybe don't have a giant bright GIJoe logo on your leg. This one goes into the bad tier for those reasons. Storm Shadow is fine. I talked about this figure recently during Main Character May, so I'm just gonna put him in the good tier and move on. I guess the Iron Grenadiers didn't make it to the new millennium, as Undertow is just a Cobra now. He's got the same thing as Firefly, where they stamped a big Cobra logo on his head, but I think this color scheme is really nice and a big improvement on the original, so I'll allow him into the good tier. Another new character that uses a previous Joe's body is Whiteout.
man, this line could have been called Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
He uses Snowjob's body and is just as bland, so into that tier he goes. Our last figure is Wild Bill, who isn't very different to the 92 or 93 versions that used this mold. So I'll just repeat myself here and say that Union cosplay is weird, so into that tier he goes.
And that was the list.
Now, technically there were 2 more figures released in 2000, but they were re-releases of Thunderwing and Heavy Duty along with the Mobat from 1998. Since they are literally the same figures, there's no point in adding them here. And that was the year 2000 for G.I. Joe. It sure was a weird year, what with all the name changes and new characters using previous molds, but it wasn't a bad year overall.
Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Well, I'll see you next time, everybody, and hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing.
G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there.
I want you all to know it's like 35 degrees Celsius out there right now, and yeah, this feels great. Real happy about my life choices right now.